Boom! Now we have Mike. Always forget that. What's up, you guys? Happy Friday. Man, I have been looking forward to today for a while, actually. For, I don't know, how long has it been? Maybe a week and a half? So, yeah, I'm really stoked. Welcome, you guys, everyone who's watching. Couple of things before we actually jump into what I got planned. Let me know how the audio sounds, like if my voice sounds like trash or if the audio mix. I got some music going in the background, so let me know how the mix sounds, and I'll be checking that out. I'll be monitoring the comments, making sure everything's going all right. But hey, happy Friday. How's everyone doing? Let me know how you're doing in the chat. Thanks for spending about an hour with me on Friday. You know, life, you can make your money back. You can earn trust back. That's hard. But you can't earn time back. You don't get that back. So thank you for spending time with me on Friday. And yeah, today is going to be a shorter stream when we finished out the final chapter of the Echoes gameplay. That was about a 4.5, 5-hour stream. So tonight's just going to be, compared to that one, it'll be short. It'll just be an hour. I got a special guest coming in about 25 minutes, which I am super excited about. I'll keep that a bit of a secret for now. And we're going to be announcing some new content, which is going to be coming to the channel, and I am really stoked about that. Something that this person and I have been chatting about on and off for about 6 months. 6 months, I think. And we're finally decided, let's pull the trigger and let's plan through some content. So we'll be letting you guys know what that's all about. And around 7:25, 7:30, we'll bring him on and we'll go there. So, man, I am so excited, you guys. Today, 3 things. Thank you for 400 subscribers. And as of right now, or I think we're at 442 or something like that, I decided to do a 400 subscribers stream instead of a video because I wanted to just hang out with you guys for a bit. But then when we got here, I'm like, shoot, we're going to be at 500 really fast. So, dang, I got to get some content out. I want to update you guys on where we're at with Echoes. So as you guys are in the Discord gang, you guys know that my hours for where I work, sometimes I work 30 hours a week, sometimes I work 50 hours a week, and the last 2 weeks were just pretty busy, and so I didn't get to spend as much time doing work on Echoes, but I do have some footage to show you guys, something that I whipped up for you guys to show. And for you guys who I asked if you wanted me to do the voice of the Luminoth, I will show you guys a little bit of work that I've been working on. Again, everything is still a draft, and I just wanted to show you guys a bit. And then third, yeah, we're going to have a special guest on the show tonight and announce some brand new content. But first, I want to show you guys, let's see if I can pull this up here. I want to show you guys just a little bit of work of what I've been doing. Let's see. Boom. So here's the script right now. Yeah, I use Google Docs. Right now, here's all the script. Lots and lots and lots of script. Lots of script. More script. And that's where the script runs out, and that is where the notes start. So right now, we are sitting on 12 pages of script, and then we got another 10 pages worth of notes. So my guess is this will probably be about a 35, 40-page script. Of everything for the Echoes. So that's a lot of work, and honestly today just pumping out about 2 pages worth of script it takes a while, not because that's how long it takes to write, but the amount of attention towards the game, the amount of attention towards the lore, and then also making the timestamps for me to say, okay, when I cover this part, I want to make sure that I have that clip involved. And I went back through the stream from 2 weeks ago and time-stamped a bunch of stuff in there. So it does take a while, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from you guys, and a lot of you know just how much time goes into making these kinds of videos. And again, since I don't do this for a living, this is just something that we do on the show just for fun and just out of an appreciation for Metroid Prime. That's what this is all about. And so that's kind of where we're at. When can you expect the stories Retold Echoes project to be revealed? I'm hesitant to say, because as we all know, life tends to have twists and turns. It was about this time last year when I was on the mend from probably COVID. We don't have the antibodies to prove that, but I had just come back from India, and then I was on the mend after being sick for about 4 weeks, and then boom, the whole country shut down. So based on this current trajectory I'm on, I would love to get this out in March. And I was originally saying late February. I'm thinking March. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm thinking. So if you guys aren't in the Discord, you guys can go down to the description of this video, get the fingers in there, this video, and you guys can hop on in there, and that's where you'll get the most up-to-date information on there. Announcements, we got a couple of sections, one channel that's just for Metroid discussions, have some fun talking with you guys and just seeing you guys chat about lore, and you guys have been super good about hiding all of the spoilers for Metroid Prime 3, which again, once the Echoes video is out, we will be doing a Metroid Prime 3 stream series. We're going to stream the whole game. I've never played it before. I'm going to trust you guys aren't going to spoil anything in the comments for me. You guys have been super good about that. And yeah, so that's the plan on that as well. If you guys have any ideas for a video or any ideas for some content, which we're going to be talking about just a few minutes, type into the comments and get that out there, because I want to know what you guys want to see. I want to know what about the Metroid or the Metroid Prime series interests you. What kind of gameplay would you guys like to see? What kind of lore or what kind of aspects about the game would you like me to cover, and would you like me and some other people to cover, as I'm going to be collaborating with a few people in the Discord gang over the next year and see how that goes. So I'm really excited. Would I do a video on Metroid Prime Hunters or other Metroid games? Yeah, I need to get the other Metroid games. That's the first part of it. Of the entire Metroid series, I have a bunch of runs through of Prime under my belt. A dozen, probably. Echoes, when we did the stream, I was thinking back and I was like, this is probably my third or fourth time running Echoes. This will be my first time running Corruption. I've not played any of the other Metroid games, which is crazy. So I will absolutely be looking to cover the other Metroid games as they come, or not as they come out. Well, Metroid Prime 4, we would hope will be coming out. And that's definitely a topic of discussion for sure. But yeah, I need to get those other games, figure out the best platform for that. So if you know the best way to play the other Metroid games, let me know. Bread, thank you for that. Let me know the best way to play these games, and if there's the best way to do it for streaming or the best way to do it for video capturing, because I definitely would be interested in playing some of the older Metroid games for sure. I've watched gameplay of some of the like the old Nintendo side scrollers, and I definitely want to play those because I've done some lore digging. Right, since I only know Prime, when I go back and when I read comments and someone says something about the Space Pirates or Chozo Origins that I don't know about from an older game, like, oh, I got to go back there and figure out, what this is all about. So that's definitely something I need to do. So let me know the best way to do that. Federation Force. Okay. What system is that for? That's actually not one that I'm familiar with. And this is the thing that I love about the Metroid fandom is how Metroid Prime is remembered as one of the greatest Nintendo games, especially for GameCube. And actually what we're going to be talking about a little later on. Nah, I'm not going to spoil it. But I love how certain fandoms, certain franchises can have, a very broad appeal or very specific appeal. And I think that Metroid series is one of those rare ones that is able to have both broad and very specific appeal. 3DS. Okay. I'm going to have to get a 3DS then. I'm just going to have to get one. Oh, man. Yeah, I will definitely look into that. I'm gonna keep these live comments and write down all these other things. 3DS, is that something that can be recorded easily? I'm not super familiar, because that would be That would be interesting. I feel like for that would part of the fun would be like the camera on the person while they're playing it. Yeah. Okay, I'll definitely look into that, and some of the older Metroids as well. And which, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, I've got my shrine of Metroid Prime stuff going on behind me. The trilogy, the Metroid Prime and the Metroid Fusion guidebook, which I bought when I was a kid, and then this poster, which is brand new to the wall. So I'm pretty excited for that. Really, it's a co-op game. That's super interesting. So, okay, yeah, because that was and that was in the era when you could do like a lot of Pokemon battles, right, on all the handhelds, and so they designed a game that's co-op. That's super interesting. Super interesting. Yeah. Okay, I'll definitely look into that. And if you can find a way where that can be done in a co-op mode, I guess I'll have to find someone who we can do that with. That's interesting. I appreciate it. I appreciate you doing the research for me. No. How's it going, Homebrew? Yeah, we're just hopping in and we're just kind of chatting about what we're doing today, and just catching people up on the Echoes project. We're about what was it, 12 pages of script in, and we'll probably be about I would guesstimate 30 to 35 pages worth of script before I record the voiceover. And once the voiceover is recorded, you guys, the edit will actually probably only take me another week. It's the script is definitely the hardest part. Local Legend, good to see you, man. Okay, all right, that's okay. 3DS capture card software modding is significantly harder to come across nowadays. All right, so then maybe is there an emulator? Is there an emulator that can run that? I'm not huge on emulators. I used to have Dolphin, and I've run modded Xboxes so that like I could play like Dune and Golden Axe. You know, those. Oh my gosh, you guys! You want to talk about some old games? If you guys have not played Golden Axe, specifically Golden Axe 2, you gotta play Golden Axe 2 if you can get access to that system. And they have like those plug and plays out now. Those like the all-in-one plug and plays, which are super cool. And would totally love to have one of those. If you don't, a modded box can run it, or an emulator. Golden Axe 2 and the original Dune. Man, those games are fantastic. In fact, shout out to Dune. I was doing some script writing today, and when you get to Aegon Wastes, and you get the first contact with the worms, the sand. You gotta be really careful with this one. The sand diggers. Then they go into the ground, like the big worms. Definitely may or may not be soft referencing some other universes that have some of those, and actually doing that in a couple of other ways. Okay, so Citra will emulate it. Okay, I will definitely look into that. The people who've had business, you could have mailed DSs that don't really exist anymore. Got it. Yeah, it is an interesting era in gaming, isn't it, where we have so much technology out there, and the capability of our technology is I mean, man, I'm looking over at my Nintendo 64, and I'm just like, I can't believe that on one shelf I have that, and then right over here I have this like screaming computer, and somewhere in the middle we have emulators. Somewhere in the middle, you know, we're trying to not reprogram, but like to get these old scripts, these old codes to work on what we have. Meanwhile, the kind of stuff from maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and even the handhelds, you know, from like 15 years ago, getting them to cooperate with the technology that we have now can be kind of difficult. Federation Force Online 4 players. Whoa. Interesting. You know, I never one time had someone that I could play the Echoes multiplayer with. I've always wanted that. I always wanted to be able to play the Echoes multiplayer, and I would just like go into my room and I would like get all my GameCube controllers out and just like pretend that I was playing against people. And this was, you know, gosh, when was Echoes released? I'm trying to like line it up with Halo's release. That's got to be It's got to be around the same era. I mean, obviously the same era. I'm trying to remember what was released first. Echoes or Halo. I want to say Halo might have been released maybe before Echoes. I want to say. Someone confirm that for me. I'll always say is that, like, I always wanted to play Echoes with my friends, but we were always playing other games, and like I remember at that time, like James Bond Nightfire, that was one that I would play with my friends, and that was I would be able to get my friends to play that, but I could never get them to play Echoes. Meant to be played with 4 players, and we're talking Metroid stuff, right? That's amazing. Okay, so you didn't. Okay. Apparently 360 is considered retro now. Yeah, I know. And I mean, I feel bad for my 360, but of all of my consoles that I have, it gets the least love. And some of my favorite games of all time were 360. Battlefield 3, Left 4 Dead. I mean, I've only been more competitive in online than in Battlefield 2 Modern Combat. That's the only game that I was more competitive, and that was an Xbox and PS2 title. The only other games I was more competitive in, Left 4 Dead and Battlefield 3. Shout out to Shopes out there if you're watching. He was my comrade in arms in that game, in both of those games. And Left 4 Dead, if you ever played it online, there was not stat tracking in that game, so I had my I think it was past when I moved on from my Razr, which I have my Razr, my old cell phone, like in this compartment, actually right below my Metroid Prime cases. But we kept the stats from that game on our own notepad, and we got over 90 wins in a row. 4v4, and we got over 90 wins in a row, and we just stopped keeping track at that point. We were just so dominant in that game. 360. And there's my 360. I don't think that she's been plugged in or run anything in maybe 5 or 6 years, and that's just because the Xbox One runs everything reverse compatible. So, and it is true. I talk to some of the teenagers that I work with, and they look at the 360 and like, dude, that is like super old. I'm like, okay, well now I'm old. I know I have some gray up in here. I don't know if it shows up so well on the webcam, but it's definitely in there. Definitely in there. November of 2004. So that was after Halo. Halo was 03, was it? I want to say it was 03. 01? No way. November 15, 01. That's incredible. Was I thinking of Halo 2? Halo 2 must have been 03. 04. Okay, well, I'm wrong. That's fine. Halo in 01 and Halo 2 in 04, which puts Metroid Prime. I want to know this date. Metroid Prime release date 2002. So Halo before Metroid Prime. I'll be honest. I did not think that. I thought Metroid Prime came out before Halo. That's all right. It's okay to be wrong. Yeah, you learn from it. That's good. I would like, yes. So, as far as Metroid Prime goes, and we're going to be bringing on our special guest, Avenger, here in about 5 minutes, and we're going to be talking about some stuff. But before we do that, I did want to show you guys some work that I have going on for Echoes. And now, inside jargon stuff, as far as the order of operations go, like I said, write the script, record the voiceover, and then edit the video. What's up, Sammy? Good to see you, bud. I did a little out of order today, so the voiceover that you guys are going to see is definitely still in draft form. But I wanted to give you guys a little something. One of my favorite scenes, actually, in all of Metroid Prime, Echoes, and I went ahead and got a little edit done for you guys. So here we go. I want to give you guys a tease of what we got going on for Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. So here we go, a little early look of one of my favorite scenes in all of Echoes. Here we go. After being granted access through the security corridor, we enter the Aegon Energy Controller site. Scans indicate the chamber holds solar, bio, and geothermal energy when filled.
Our scanning equipment cannot calculate exactly how much energy is currently stored, but if visual clues are any indication, it appears not much at this time. At its base, a fallen warrior lays near the scannable hologram, activating an automated message.
Welcome. I am Isha, Sentinel of Aegon Temple. This message survives my death as guidance to one who would fight the Ing. A portal to dark aether lies nearby. With it, you can travel to this land's shadow. You must locate a dark temple, a twisted mockery of this sacred place. Inside it, you will find the energy controller you seek. The temple door is held fast by 3 locks. These keys for the locks are hidden throughout the dark land. Your search will be difficult. Even the very air of dark aether is dangerous, and it can cripple the strongest of warriors. In our past struggles with the Ing, we placed a series of light crystals throughout their world. They remain today. The crystals create safe areas that will protect you from the harmful atmosphere of the dark world. I have updated your translator module. You can access devices and doors coded with amber holograms. More lands are open to explore. When you have taken the energy from the Dark Temple, return here at once. May the light of Aether serve you well.
The next chapter in Samus's adventure has begun.
Alright, so there is a little look at some progress on the Echoes project. Like I said, I'll be more than likely re-recording, actually probably that whole scene. And another thing about the recording on the Luminoth there is that was actually the voice of Umos, the way that I am doing the sound for Umos. So I will actually be editing the way that that sounds, because the hologram, if you compare it, and you can actually go into the sound files, the hologram of the Luminoth is it's definitely it sounds different, right? It sounds like it's coming out of a machine. It sounds like it's coming out of a hologram, as opposed to Umos is actually like right there, standing there with you. So it will sound a little different, and I'm going to re-record all of that voiceover and stuff. So I just want to give you guys a little look, and I'll be uploading that probably a little later on, maybe this week, just to give you guys a little taste. But right now, what I want to do is I want to bring in someone who is a member of the Discord gang. And just a reminder, if you guys aren't a part of Emos Musk, yes, if you guys are not a part of the Discord gang, hop in. It is link is down in the description of this video. That's where I do updates for all of you guys and just keep you guys up to date on everything. But we have a couple of spots for a conversation about Metroid. So what I want to do now is I'm going to pull up Discord, and we're going to see if we can get let's see if we can get Avenger in here. So this is my first time doing this exact setup, and I did a test run earlier. Let's see if we can get him in here. So I'll let Avenger introduce himself, but I will say as we're getting him up online, Avenger reached out to me, I think back in, I want to say June or September, and he was actually the first one in the Discord, and we spent a while chatting about just Metroid Prime and stuff in general. And as soon as we started talking, I was like, okay, we need to do some collaboration. And so we've been talking through a number of things back and forth over the last several months. And I think it was about, I want to say 2 months ago, I asked if he would come on and if we would work on some stuff together. And so we have a game plan going forward, which we'll talk a little bit more about once we get him on. I'm waiting for his connection there. But I'm really excited to be bringing on Avenger. We're hoping that the Wi-Fi gremlins are working in our favor tonight. just make sure we're all good to go here. Standing by. Brad, you're on the Bomb Guardian fight right now. Right now, that's happening. That's funny. I was just writing script about that earlier this afternoon. That's awesome. Yeah, the Bomb Guardian is kind of interesting. Something that I wrote down in the script that's kind of funny is the fact that apparently the Ing figured out how to bypass the whole cooldown. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Hey.
All right, let's get him in here. What's
Hey,
going on?
up?
There we go.
I
Good to
can't-
see you.
It's good to see you. Except I just see a black screen.
That's right. Yeah, you're actually not going to see me because I got my video port going into the stream. How's it going, man?
It's going well. It's just got off work, so I'm pretty committed right now.
Yeah, you guys, literally, I was chatting with Avenger on the way over here, and he was updating me on, all right, the car is warm, I'm on my way. Like, literally, you guys just got off work and jetted down here to come on the show, so super excited to have you on. Why don't you, I told a little bit about how we got connected, but why don't you just kind of introduce yourself a little bit about your connection maybe with Metroid Prime, and just maybe just talk a little bit about, like, why you have, like, what about Metroid Prime interests you? But yeah, introduce yourself and just kind of talk about your connection with Metroid Prime.
Okay, so my connection to Prime goes back when I was 8, and that's when I think I must have seen a demo of it at Radio Shack. How I got interested in the game, I think I was pestering my mom to rent the game from the local drug mart, and she must have caved in. I was hooked. It was one of those experiences where the atmosphere, all the immersive elements, made you believe, convinced you were existing in real science fiction. You were this bounty. Honestly, for me, Metroid Prime's introduction is what sucked me in. And it's also what terrified me about the game. I had to turn the music off the first time playing. Yeah, I had, as soon as I got to the Parasite Queen, all bets were off. It was like, no, music.
Yeah. and I remember you told me that was one of the tracks that you really liked too. In retrospect.
Yeah. I think it's just because of the emotion, the raw power of the synthesizers. Of course, back then I didn't know what it was. But also the hectic escape track. And that was before I knew that was a trademark of the Metroid franchise, was that escape sequence. So reminiscent of Alien from '70. But I've actually got a little surprise here. So I've got my original copy of Metroid Prime that I got in 2003. With, you can see the condition. So this is the main. It looks like it's been untouched.
Dude, well done. That's awesome.
I actually, yeah, I'm really OCD. That's funny. I really have OCD. It's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons that this stuff is in as good a shape as it is.
Wow.
Growing up, I was very particular about my discs. I didn't want other people like taking them out of the GameCube because they would just. Sometimes people would leave like discs like on the entertainment center.
Yeah.
Scratched.
Yeah. So you have the original case and the disc is in good condition. I wish I could say the same. In fact, my GameCube itself is I wouldn't say on her last legs, but she's definitely been through a lot. She's been through a lot of moves. She's been boxed up a few times. A few times.
You've been abusing her.
Yeah, I know. She's treated me really well over the years. Well, I want to just announce what we're going to be doing, and we're going to be starting a show. We really don't have a name for it yet. We've got a couple of ideas yet. Maybe you can toss some ideas up. But what we're going to be doing is a video podcast series, and each episode is going to have a prompt. And we have 5 or 6 episodes already lined up that we want to record, and they'll be anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour long. And I have a hunch that there might be a few episodes that go a little long, because the first time Avenger, you and we chatted on Discord, I think it ended up being like a 4.5 hour call, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was. Sometimes when you make a connection, I just it's like a runaway.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. So we're gonna be opening up a new show on this channel, and when we put a episode out, we'll put that in a playlist, and so that'll be on there. So when you go to the channel, and right now we have the Stories Retold playlist, and then right below that there's going to be a playlist for this. So I'm actually going to pull up the document right here with some of the episodes that we have, and I don't want to give away too much. I do like the idea of holding some of the info back, but just a couple of episodes that we have lined out. One of them talking about Chozo lore, going into some of our favorite lore, some of the most important lore, and maybe some of the lore that you tend to overlook. One of them I'm really excited about is an episode all about what was your biggest surprises in the Metroid Prime series. We have one that we're going to just talk about Dark Samus and Dark Samus throughout the trilogy. I'm going to stop there because I don't want to give out all this stuff. But if you have any ideas in the comments, some topics that you would like to see us discuss about, kind of going in depth for about 30 minutes to an hour, put down the comments and then we'll do it. And just to kind of give you an idea of what this is going to look like, I thought it would be cool if we do kind of like a shortened, live, and unpolished episode right here. And so what I'd like to do is I'll just toss it over to you, Avenger. Discussion prompt. Metroid Prime. We'll just talk about Metroid Prime 1. As we look back on, the greatness of Metroid Prime, and we look back on it, and you've taken care of the disc, you've taken care, of it, and obviously you have a lot of passion about it. Here's the question. How much of the enjoyment of playing Prime and talking about Prime is the nostalgia, and how much of it is truly like the greatness of the game?
When it comes to Metroid Prime, I wanted to say this for many years because I know a lot of newer gamers, because you're kind of partially a product of the time that you grow up and you exist in. So Metroid Prime is not just a nostalgia. Metroid Prime is not just it's not something you stick in a frame and put up a wall and you're like, I remember the good old. Prime is a prime example, forgive the pun. Gaming mechanics perfected, and a studio that worked to make one of the greatest games ever created in spite of its management. And there's a lot of stuff you can read up about retro studios and stuff that CEO at the time. But they, just like with Super Metroid, they poured their heart and soul into it. It's one of the greatest of all time, and for me, the greatest games of all time are those games that convince they suspend your disbelief to the point where you are convinced in that period of time that you are ensconced in the character, that you are breathing in that world. Everything, even the save stations, are meticulously. And it really comes down to all the three-dimensional modeling they did. Like, you look at the lack of bump mapping. There's no normal maps at all. There aren't any in Metroid Prime. There are specular, if you guys know about texture. But to compensate, Retro used Maya, and they just like carved out and chiseled out all the stone, the cracked stone, all the Chozo lore. He's like, all this stuff is just so three-dimensional. It's got so much depth.
Yeah, I just want to jut in there because I was going through some script today, and I was you get to the point actually in Echoes where you see the plants that are phased in between Aether and Dark Aether, the ones you can walk through and then it like lights up your visor, and I was just in that room with like the sand like conveyor belt kind of thing, and I was just looking at across the hall all the detail of what looks like old root that may have gone into the sandstone and then decayed, and just like the detail that you're actually not going to interface with that, whereas like on the Chozo ruins, you're jumping over objects, you're jumping over stone. Just the amount of detail that went in to stuff even that you don't even touch, and that just goes directly into what you're talking about, like creating not just a dream state but an interactive dream state.
Yeah, it's kind of like you were saying. It's like a lucid dream. It's a masterpiece of an art form made with serious limitations to where I think, what was it? I could have sworn it was like 6 MB of audio per level, or for the, I don't know if it couldn't have been the entire game disc, but it was a tiny, tiny, minuscule amount of audio was packed into the game. Um, I mean, the game was 1.1 gigabytes in total, I think.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
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 You get an update for Skyrim, and it's like 30 Metroid Primes.
Yeah, and I know, I kind of lament some of the stuff that's going on with modern gaming. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. There's always innovation. There's always people, especially in the indie scene. They're doing some great work. They're doing some amazing stuff. They're collaborating. They're doing stuff that even the AAA guys aren't doing, because they, especially right now, they're not super invested in going out of their comfort zone if they're afraid that their investment's not going to get a. But that's the thing, like, especially 1997 to 2006, especially 98 to 2004, that to me was the golden era of gaming. And I find it really hard to contest it, because you look at Metroid Prime 2, you look at Metroid Prime, you look at Far Cry, Doom 3, Half-Life 2, Half-Life, StarCraft, Unreal Tournament, World of Warcraft, game after game after game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like punch after punch to the face, and you're
Yep.
like, it's awesome sauce.
You can't see me right now, but I'm smiling real big with you, man. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah.
I love how you talked about, what did you say? Yeah, playing Metroid Prime 2 on multiplayer, and you bring out all your controllers. So, dude, I was so lucky, and I won't try to go too long on it. I was lucky because I do have a brother, and oh my gosh. So I was a bad kid for 2 or 3 Christmas. I could not contain myself. I went into my parents' closet on December 23rd of 2004, and I saw Half-Life 2, Metroid Prime 2, and Need for Speed Underground 2 in a bag in my parents' closet that was not they weren't wrapped presents yet. And I took Metroid Prime 2 out, unwrapped it, put it in my GameCube, and me and my brother played the multiplayer on like the 23rd of December. And
Oh my goodness.
I got caught because I put the disc back in, so it was this case. So I took the game out, and this is another thing. The this disc is so unique; it's got rounded edges. Weird.
I
But
never
took
noticed
this
that.
game- yeah, maybe mine's different. I don't know, but it's rounded on the edges. Um,
That's super
it's
interesting. Yeah.
cool. It's unique. But yeah, that's the same exact copy, and I told my mom years later, but like I said, they never found out.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you got to play Echoes multiplayer with your brother.
Honestly, yeah, I agree with the retro devs. It wasn't finished. Of course they're gonna know, but I love how they've elements of Metroid Prime 1. They have like a nice like orbital station of sitting above Talon 4, just like in the beginning of Metroid Prime 1. So it's a really nice callback to Metroid Prime in the second. For what it's worth, it functions very well. I don't remember there being any glitches. And the funny thing is, because of that multiplayer, I expected, even before the game came out, oh, please let there be co-op. Please let the second player be a GF Marine. And, it limitations of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they kind of made good on that dream with GF Federation Galactic.
Yeah, and we were talking about that before you came on, and that's something I'm gonna have to look into, because I've never played that either. There's a whole. Oh man. Well, let's talk about one element of nostalgia. You know, music plays a huge part in nostalgia with just who we are as humans, right? I mean, certain senses just really speak to us. You know, a certain smell can bring you back to your childhood, and music, for whatever reason, it really just speaks to us. And I know that you have a very particular, you know, interest in music. Talk about maybe the music in Prime, and you know, that mix between, is it nostalgic to come back, or is it really that good? And then maybe talk a little bit at the end about your specific kind of connection with the Metroid Prime music.
The Metroid Prime's honestly, I like I said, I didn't know what a synthesizer even was until I decided I really wanted to get into video game music composition. And I think the first synthesizer I ever used was Zebralet by Urs Heckman Synth. U-H-E. He makes, him and his company are a German company that make the Zebra synths. I think those have been used on Batman. Hans Zimmer used it for Batman Dark Knight, I believe. And
Oh
it's a
man,
software.
you mentioned Hans Zimmer, and I'm interested.
Yeah, yeah, and he collaborated with Urs Heckman. He made Dark Zebra, but I was hooked. Once I realized the potential of synthesizers and that there was essentially any sound in the known universe you could create, limitless creative potential, I was in. And now I've got a Korg MS-2000, which was what Kenji Yamamoto used to compose a lot of the Metroid Prime music, including the creepy lead synth sound, that, you know, the wah, that whistly sound.
Yeah, yeah,
Do
yeah.
do 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 do. Um, and he used a lot of scales too, especially the pentatonic scale, which is like a Chinese sounding scale. You'll hear it on the Torvus Bog Depths music.
Yes.
But just it's so amazing how it's like it's a language. Kenji Yamamoto is obviously, he's a Japanese guy who was born in four. I'm sorry, I shouldn't know that, but I think it was 1964, and he is very much a huge American rock fan. If you know anything about him, I love Kelly Bailey's music for Half-Life. I'm a big Metallica guy, so here's my approach to music. To me, it's about the intervals, the distance, the mathematical distance in the notes. And when it comes to music, you can't hide the truth. Everything is naked, if you will. Your relationships with human beings are fully exposed, like the tragedy of a divorce, the tragedy of a death. Um, all that crushing emotion is stripped to its core, and the music travels through almost a spiritual medium, because you
Yeah.
see sound waves, there are oscillations, there are flutters, there are disruptions in air pressure. And what happens is, especially the lower frequencies, they physically affect your body, like the bass on a guitar. And so I always strive for a very full bass sound, like Kelly Bailey's thick, fat bass tracks. Like I'll send some links in the general chat, but his "You're Not Supposed to Be Here" track, or "Hazardous Environments," which everybody
Hmm.
knows. Everybody knows that track. That's Valve's theme track. I strive for Kenji's mid-range, like his very cultured European slash Eastern matrix. That whole thing,
Yeah.
that technological playfulness that he's got in Sanctuary Fortress, really cool
Yes.
and stuff like
And which is one
that.
of my favorite tracks from Echoes is yeah, Sanctuary Fortress. Just that I don't even know how to describe it, but there's an element to it where like you know, it feels holy, obviously. You know,
Yeah,
like the big, like the gong sound. You know, the choral, the rising chorus and everything. Which for me, maybe that just kind of speaks to me specifically, kind of how you're talking about music is somewhat of a spiritual experience, and it's cool to see the Chozo and the Luminoth having a very, you know, spirituality to them, a connection to the planet, a connection to the creatures, just a connection to each other, and definitely a connection to good versus evil, and especially in Echoes, light versus dark. Maybe spend a few minutes talking about how, again, just kind of bringing back that whole thing of like nostalgia. What are some of your favorite tracks from Metroid Prime 1, and maybe why they stand out to you?
So my favorite tracks. I know. Here's the thing. I'm a very old soul, and I'm also very music. I'm so interested in the communication, the conversation that the intervals are having. So I love my favorite track. Very well might be the ambience tracks in Frigate Orpheon. You know.
Oh yeah. 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 No, I know the one. Yeah. That's the when you come in for the first time before the piano plays. It's like that haunting, beautiful sound. Yeah.
And it and it's got that percussive element like boom boom.
Yeah.
So it's almost operatic. It sounds like a mastermind. He's playing this. It sounds like a man or a woman playing a terrifying sci-fi organ inside the ship.
Yeah.
Some like think of Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, it's like that vibe, but it's like a creepy, mutated space pirate playing.
Yeah.
I
And
love
meanwhile,
that.
there's sparks falling from the ceiling. There's like
Yeah,
critters along the floor, and there's
yeah,
dead bodies floating.
and they're bleeding out, and just reading the details of their deaths. They went through so much analysis, like his internal organ removed.
Yeah.
That was the cause of death, and you're like, my soul is being ripped from my
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
It's just creepified to the max. But my favorite of favorites, it's so hard to pick because I every track was a labor of love, even if they were a remix of Super Metroid track. Honestly, the escape music,
Yeah.
the escape music,
Mm.
even though there's that that beep, that constant beep. To me, it's part of the track. It's an instrument. I love the toms. Boom, 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 boom. Ew, new, 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 new. And then
Yeah.
you got that. It sounds like a digital watch.
Yes, totally. Like an alarm going off. Like, hey, wake up, stupid.
Just the controlled chaos of it. And I absolutely love Kenji Yamamoto's use of slides. Bam,
Oh yeah,
bam,
yeah, yeah.
bam. And then there's like this, it sounds like a guitar chord when it hits, because when it's finished, it goes bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
And then the hi-hat.
Yeah, it feels like you're like in a rock concert that you're supposed to get out of. you know?
Yeah, he just terror. That's the amazing thing. Like, I respect it. The ESRB is there for a good reason, right? But experiencing stuff like this when you're younger, when it's hard to differentiate between fantasy and reality, it makes it much more believable.
Yeah.
You're convinced. You're there. Even without VR, it was like that.
And it's
And
oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah.
No,
No,
I was just gonna say, it's funny. You and I have such a love for the music in Metroid Prime. If you guys can't tell, he's passionate about the music. I don't know if you can tell by listening and watching him, but it's funny. I love the Metroid Prime soundtrack so much, but when we talk about like our favorite songs, it's so fun to see that like your favorite ones are always like right next to my favorite one, or like the total opposite, so whether it's the escape one, the parasite queen, the super haunting one, and like my favorite one is right after when you go into the frigate Orpheon, and the crashed one, and that rising piano melody. Oh man. Oh man. But
I knew that was yours. Yeah.
And you knew that. And the funny thing though is that there's still that haunting, beautiful experience.
Haunting beauty.
You're going through a sunken ship that you blew up, and there's dead bodies falling out of the ceiling and floating in the water, and it's and then you see the Parasite Queen chambers. Like it's such an interesting uh, directing choice to play, in my opinion, the most beautiful track in like one of the most haunting like moments of the whole game. I mean, like you're literally swimming through the grave of these space pirates. Like to me, that's freaky, man.
Yeah, that's true. Um, honestly, it makes you think how could they have taken the most terrifying part of this game? I wish, honestly, I'm very open when it comes to what's the right phrase? I'm very outspoken when it comes to the fact that I wish there was a Metroid experience that was all just being in a frigate.
Mm.
Which was actually the idea for Metroid Prime 1.5 that Retro had, but I won't spoil that. Um, to be honest,
Which would be kind of like an isolating experience.
exactly. Yeah. Okay. So I remember where we were. So yeah, when it comes to the sunken frigate track, honestly, like I said, I couldn't have imagined. It seems so. It's so fresh, but it's actually, and I know you. I don't think you've played Super. I didn't know, of course, because I had never played Super Metroid. But the sunken frigate is really a it's out of the playbook of Super. But I won't spoil it. But it's
Okay,
inspired by
all
Super.
right, yeah. I think I've accidentally stumbled upon that, but I'm not going to say I know what you're talking about unless I go back there and get it. We've got just a couple of minutes left. I want to throw out another one of my favorites, and if you've watched stories retold, you've heard it a number of times, and it's actually the ambience to Phazon Mines. It's before you go and you fully are a part of it. It's in between the elevator and when you first face those pirates, and there's just that drum, and there's that industrial sound, and it's just like that echoey,
Yeah.
like that. I think when it comes to if we're gonna kind of go away from maybe like a melody driven song like the Crashed Frigate or Fendrana Drifts or Torvis Bog, and Echoes. Those are like really driven by melody. Like talking about an ambient track, like wow, that song has got so much power and so much suspense, and it didn't use the motif of the space pirates, which was super interesting to me. The first time I went to Phazon Mines as a kid, when you're about to face space pirates, in um, whether you're in Talon or whether you're or not Talon, yeah, Talon Overworld or Fendrana Drifts, wherever you are, there's that motif, that musical motif of the space pirates, and I had no idea what I was about to get into in Phazon Mines. That basically was one massive space pirate base because it was a brand new tone that I hadn't heard before, a brand new set of drums I hadn't heard before, and I remember being so freaked out as a kid. And then you get near the Phazon and you hear that the clicking sound that almost sounds like a Geiger counter. Yeah, yeah. And so it's funny just seeing how we have such a love for the music for this game, and I think our favorite tracks kind of cover the gambit of all the aspects of it. And one last thing for me that I love is that there's no one boss song that is like the other.
Yeah.
Every single one is uniquely made. So good.
Yeah. Just gonna respond quick to
Yeah.
your thoughts on the. Yeah. Honestly, my impression of the Phase on Mines, now that you've kind of got my gears turning, is that it's really, and there are other tracks in the game like this, but the drums are very much like, you're not allowed here, you're not welcome here now. It's like
Yes.
it's speaking to the covert nature of Samus's arrival. It's like you've arrived, you've slipped past the space pirates' defenses. They never expected you to make it through the frigate and through their security, through the phazon, down that elevator. So you have the element of surprise, but at the same time, they're so paranoid that they're hiding in ventilation shafts.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
That's
know?
so true.
I mean, they've been doing that. They were doing that in Fendrana,
Yeah.
which actually Fendrana is also one of my absolute favorites. But yeah, very. Oh, and let's not even talk about how you go so long without a save, and how you die 18,000 times from that drone without realizing you need the wave buster.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah.
I couldn't beat it. I had to get the wave buster. I could never beat it unless I got it.
Oh
I had to
man.
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Well, sweet. Well, let's wrap this one up right here. Any last thoughts on just kind of in general, nostalgia versus the game itself? I think we've kind of answered it, but any concluding thoughts? As you go back and play Metroid Prime, what do you feel more? Do you feel a sense of greatness, or do you feel a sense of nostalgia?
Well, like greatness enveloped in nostalgia. So it's like pigs in a blanket.
Nice.
Um, just fantastic, great nostalgia, great game. Nostalgic partially because it was a great game. It was to me, it's like the production values. It's like the Star Wars of video game production. How hard the developers were willing to work that game. When I hold a candle to it, between Half-Life 2 and Metroid Prime, for years I could never choose, and I finally decided like, okay, it's got to be Half-Life 2. I gotta, and then like I nowadays I can hardly even, and I love the game, but I can't hardly even go back to it. It hasn't aged as well to me as
Mm.
Metroid Prime has. So replayable. It wants you, it invites you in to keep playing it again and again, and to keep analyzing it and to have a relation with it as.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that, and you bring up something that if we had more time, I would go into is just you talking about the replayability of it. It's just game mechanics. How often do you go back to a game that's 20 years old and just jump right in?
Yeah.
And not to mention we're going from dual analogs to single analog, and learning
Yeah,
the
it's
lock
true.
on.
Yeah.
It's like, man, like when I go back and play Star Fox 64, it takes me a whole day to relearn how to fly the R wing and to be able, when I do max hit runs trying to get over 2,000, like, dude, it takes me hours to get back into playing on the Nintendo 64, and for a game like that. And that's fine because I mean I'll play Star Fox all day, but I'll take several years without playing Metroid Prime, and it's like boom, I'm in it, and I'm there.
Drop it. And I think that's an ode to the controls and to just the L button. Just the L button.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Well, Avenger, dude, thank you so much for tuning in. Everybody, thank you so much for Avenger being on. I'm going to go ahead and close us out, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up this stream. If you guys would help us out and put some ideas for episodes that you would like for us to do going forward, that would be awesome. Like I said, we're going to be recording these separately, and then we'll produce them. And so this is just the one time we're going to do it live. We just thought it'd be fun to kind of give you guys a little, to quote Nacho Libre, a little taste of what I do. So thank you, Avengers, so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. And
It was a lot of fun.
yeah, I had a lot of fun. So I'll see you in episode 1, my man.
Peace out.
All right, thank you. All right, you guys. So that is Avenger, and that is a little taste of what we're going to be doing going forward. And so we'll hang out here for a few minutes. If you guys want to give us a little bit of feedback, maybe give us some ideas for some episodes for us, that would be awesome. I definitely want to make sure that we're covering stuff that you guys want to hear, and not just stuff that we want to talk about, because obviously, as you can tell, the two of us could talk about Metroid Prime for a really, really, really long time. So we're going to be recording episodes ahead of time and in a really similar format, but we'll have them all polished and making sure that the audio mix, all that good stuff. So I was just bouncing in and out of some of the comments. A couple of ones I wanted to look at. Yeah, the Chozo reminded me of a bit of an ancient Egypt combined with advanced technology. It's funny. I really picked up on that as well. Not just like the script on the wall, but exactly what you're talking about, like the sand and the stones and everything in there. Man, like that, I'm vibing on that big time. That's why I wanted to read that one out there. Bread, on my first playthrough of Prime 3, I'm going to be right behind you because we'll be doing the Prime 3 really soon as we get the Echoes video out there. GoldenEye being so antiquated by not having a cursor crosshairs on the screen is so weird. Yeah, isn't that so interesting? Isn't that so interesting? You know, when I go back and play GoldenEye, like it takes me a bit to get used to it. And maybe it's just action games in general. Not side scrollers, because side scrollers I pick up pretty quickly on the 64. But that is a very good point. And speaking of GoldenEye, if you guys haven't, shout out to one of my favorite people on here, JMM Review. You guys should totally go follow him. He's got some really cool stuff talking about the GoldenEye. I believe it was a 360 version that got leaked, and I know a lot of people are covering that right now. That was like a really big leak, and a lot of people are going through and seeing, what was intended for that release. But he's got some really cool content out. JMM Review. I'm gonna pop that in here. He's one of my buddies. He's one of the guys I collaborate with. Go check him out. And for you guys, I think most of you guys are from the Metroid Prime crew. Another part of what we cover on here is a lot of stuff from Battlefield 2 Modern Combat. And I'm the admin on speedrun.com for Battlefield 2 Modern Combat. And I'm also a part of a remake for the game for online. And so if you guys are ever interested in that, go follow JMM Review. That guy is covering all that good stuff. But I just want to shout him out since somebody mentioned GoldenEye, and dang, dude. Oh, man. Prime 4 will probably have that crosshair thing. We'll have to get used to the Prime trilogy. Dude, okay, before we wrap, we talked about it a little bit on the last stream. You guys' thoughts on Prime 4. I know that there's a lot of stuff out there. Favorite region of Aether, Dark Aether was your favorite music. Your thoughts on Prime 4 while I talk about that. My favorite choice, or my favorite region for music in Aether, Dark Aether. Let me tell you, and this is not my least favorite. It's actually a really powerful one, but it's the one that would get stuck in my head as a kid, and it still gets stuck in my head as an adult. Dark Aegon Wastes. Dark Aegon Wastes. Dude, go and play. Just go listen to it. If it's been a while, just go on YouTube. I'm not even going to play it right now, dude, because it'll be stuck in my head for the rest of the week. Go on YouTube and go listen to the Dark Aegon Wastes for like 2 minutes. And then remember that you would be there for like 3 hours on one of the sessions, right? When you're getting all 3 keys, and then you go to the Dark Temple, and then you defeat, I can't remember the name right now, like the giant worm. And then you transfer the energy out of Dark Aegon. Like, that's like a 3-hour sesh. Like, that's hearing the same ominous, dark, like really gritty song for like 3 hours. So that's a song worth mentioning. But my favorite, it's playing right now, Torvus Bog. Torvus Bog. It's got to be Torvus, man. Second favorite would be definitely the Luminoth lore. Or not the Luminoth lore, the Luminoth theme. That's got to be. Yeah, Bread is in Dark Aegon as we speak. Yeah, so you know how it feels, man. You know how it feels. Discussion on color theme is important. Prime 1 was vibrant. Video gaming even. Yeah, Prime 2 is harsher and more realistic, especially with the area transitions. It's more cohesive. Yeah, and I would say more contrast as well. The shadows are darker. The highlights are brighter. You know, when you go from the cliff on your way to Aegon Wastes, and there's that waterfall. There's like those three 3 war wasp nests, if you remember the room I'm talking about. It's right before the elevator, and you go around the corner, and there's this beautiful scenery, and of course, you know, it's almost 20 years old, and so they didn't have like high. Yes, Amorbus. Yeah, that's good knowledge right there, Amorbus. As you're going around the corner, you see this beautiful waterfall. You see this beautiful greenery. It's bright. It's gorgeous. Then you go to Aegon Wastes, and like where the sun is shining through. Right, it's a desert, so it's like really bright, and the shadows are really dark. And obviously, when you get to Dark Aegon, like the light crystals are like everything before you get the suit, where it's not going to kill. You know, you're not going to kill yourself. My favorite theme for Metroid Prime 2 is the Dark Samus theme. Interesting. And I use that in the last promo. So there you go. Haven't played Prime 2 in a while. The game is so... You know what? It is longer than I remembered. It is a little longer than I remembered. When I covered Prime, I was like, let me just smash out a hard difficulty. I think it ended up being like 8 or 9 hours of gameplay, and like that's with, you know, taking notes and everything. And I think total gameplay on Echoes was like up to 16 hours. Like it's a significantly longer game, and it's also like a game where I wanted to pull off and kind of digest some things for a while and actually take breaks. Whereas like Metroid Prime, it's like boom, let's go get it. Let's do it. Let's save the Chozo. Whoops, never mind. But with Echoes, man, like you feel exhaustible. Like you feel exhaustible going back and forth between light and dark. Like the music in dark, it pulls something out of you, which is something I think worth talking about, that they really created an experience in that game where you feel like you're putting a lot of yourself in there. Taurus Bog is my favorite. My favorite level is the Ing Hive, and my favorite boss is Quadraxis. Man, I remember having so much trouble on Quadraxis, and I one-shot him on the playthrough. In fact, the only bosses that I didn't one-shot on this last playthrough was the oh gosh, which is the one in Dark Torvus? It's not the Spider Ball. I got the Spider Ball in one shot. Oh, help me out. Is it the Power Bomb? No, it's the Boost Ball. It's the Boost Ball Guardian. The Boost Ball Guardian took me 3 tries, and the final boss took me 3 tries. Everything else was one shot. Quadraxis, man, that was a really fun fight. I forgot how interactive it is, right? I think you do a bit of that as well against the Emperor Ing. Like you have Spider Ball going on. You got to do Morph Ball bombs. I gotta say, man, I struggled on Phase 1 against the Emperor Ing. That was really tough. Hype for 4. Interested in Etheria. Okay. Stuff I don't know yet. So I'm just gonna pretend like I didn't read anything. That's why I haven't played it so long. And interesting. Okay. All right. Very interesting. I think for me, Boost Ball is really annoying. Yeah, Boost Ball is tough. Boost Ball is really tough. I think for me overall, like when I purely just subjective. Like if Prime is over here and Echoes is over here, and it's a Friday, I have nothing going on, and for whatever reason, like I want to play a single player offline and chill, I'm going with Prime. But then I get that urge every once in a while, you know, for Echoes. Yeah, so the thing about the Boost Ball that makes that fight so hard, other than the fact that it's just a really hard boss, is that you don't have a lot of energy tanks at that point. And not to mention the fact that there's no light crystal. Like there's no light crystal. Like it's a race against time. Like it is a timed battle. You don't have the opportunity, whereas like the was it the Spider Ball? Yeah, the Spider Ball Guardian is definitely in the upper echelon of difficulty, but it's not a race against time. Like you can chill and just kind of like think through. It's half puzzle mechanic, all that stuff, and the other half is like against it itself. Is we've been on this Torvus for like a half hour. My bad. I mean, I don't even hear it, man. I love the Torvus bog theme so much. Like, why? When is he gonna play something else? I think the constant draining of energy is one of the hardest parts about that fight, whereas the other bosses, at least the Spider Guardian, like you can think it through. Quadraxis, you kind of can, although that one is actually a bit of a race against time too. I just think in general, it's more capable. It's more. You're more capable of taking out a hard boss at that point, whereas gosh, now I'm totally losing my brain cells here. The Spider Ball Guardian at that point is just a really hard boss to kill at that point in the game. Yeah, Boost Ball Guardian, man, that's a tough one. Hype for 4 and on the Switch too. And I don't own a Switch. That's something that I will have to pick up. I haven't had a Nintendo console since the GameCube, and a really good friend of mine. I set up the Patreon on this channel just for for kicks. If anyone wanted to support the channel to help purchase a Wii, then that's all set up. And then a friend of mine calls me up about a week ago and says, "Hey, by the way, I'm dropping a Wii off at your house. Are you home?" And I was like, "What?" So, really good friend of mine donated a Wii to the channel, and so got Prime 3 and ready to go. But if you guys at any point ever want to support the channel, whether it's $1, $5, or whatever, the Patreon is down in there, and all that stuff will just go to buying games, buying stuff that you guys want to see covered. I'm not going to promote that often. I'm not going to promote like subscribing and things like that often, but I definitely will thank you guys, anyone who supports the Patreon or anyone who subscribes. Heck yeah, I'm going to thank you guys and give you guys shout outs for sure, but I'm just not going to promote that very much. Like I said, this is just something that I do for fun, and I think that this is growing faster than I can keep up with it, so I don't want to promote stuff too much just in case it gets a little bit too big for my good. So oh man. Yes. Oh, the nice Bread is like live tweeting his run through echoes right now through the comments section. I love it. Bosses are more interesting in Prime 2. Yeah, I think you're right on that. More interactivity and phases, not simplistic damage. Yeah, you're right. It's Prime bosses are more like tank and spank, but like you have to tank and spank like this particular part of it. The Fendrana, the Big Mama Sheegoth. Big Mama Sheegoth. That's a tough fight. That's a pretty tough fight. Pretty much everything else, I'm like running through all the bosses right now. There's definitely a lot of boss mechanics, boss scripts, but it's more about, okay, this weapon at this time, or this weapon at this part of the boss. We got to shoot the beetle in the butt, or we got to, wait until the Sheegoth is like breathing in, then fire, or with Thardis, for example, which I think is the hardest boss in the game, you have to go back and forth between visors, and you got to stage it. The Omega Pirate is another really a really tough one. Those two I think are the hardest, and then maybe Metroid Prime is there as well. But I think Metroid Prime is the most complicated boss. But there are like 5 or 6 bosses I could think of in Prime 2 that have more mechanics than some of the harder bosses in Prime. So yeah, you're definitely right. What mini bosses do I like? What's funny is this one just comes to mind is the War Wasp. The War Wasp when the flamethrower is like super early on in Chozo Ruins, and maybe it's because Chozo Ruins just came on, but the funny thing about this corner of Chozo Ruins, and if you can recall the section of the map, maybe I can pull it up. Chozo Ruins map. I want to show exactly what I'm talking about. Let's see, because it's before you get to the Sun Chamber. Yeah, it's the top. It's the top left section of the map. Oh, this is like mega low res. This is like mega low res, which is fine. But oh no, there we go. Nice. All right. So this whole section right here, this top left section, the Hive Mecha. There we go, the Hive Mecha. This section of the map, the whole top left, super early on in the game, right? You come through the elevator, you come into the main chamber, and you're introduced to Chozo Ruins. And this section of the map is just like gorgeous. And then you come up here into the top left section of the map, and you face the Hive Mecha. This whole section is not a section you really return to. You have a couple of missile upgrades, and yeah, that's about it. For whatever reason, and this might just be pure nostalgia. It's so funny you asked that, and the Chozo Ruins music is playing right now, and you asked about mini bosses. Like an hour before going live, I was just kind of thinking through like what are some of my favorite or like really niche memories of Metroid Prime. And it's literally the first time I ever went through Chozo Ruins, and it's this section of the map. And the first mini boss that you have after the Parasite Queen is the Hive Mecha, and you very quickly have to turn around because you have a blocked door here, and later on you come around and get that energy tank. But this quadrant of the map, the top left quadrant of the map, the northwest section, you rarely come back there, and there's very few places in the game, really. There are very few places where you go once. Like the half pipe in Phendrana on the right side of the map, maybe you go there once. The area to get the thermal visor in Phendrana, you go there once. There might be a leg or two in Talon Overworld, where you go once, like later in the game, and you have not Phendrana Shorelines, the Talon. Oh gosh, what's the part? No. The part I'm thinking of, you come back again. There are very few parts of the map where you really don't come back to, and it's super interesting. I think the only time you might come back here, the one time you would come back here, is to get the key Wild, because this part right here, access to the Sun Chamber, is blocked off. So the only time you come back here is to get that, and it's just super interesting that a part so early in the game you rarely ever come back to. So super long-winded and roundabout reasoning, but yeah, it's got to be Hive Mecha as one of my favorite mini bosses. Like the Sheegoth appearing as regular but weaker enemies later on, dealing with them at the plasma beam. Oh my gosh, you're so right. Dude, the plasma beam coming back and just like ripping enemies that just absolutely drove you to no end. Like, that is one of the great satisfying things in Prime, is coming back and just like ripping through enemies who just been dogging on you all game long. Speaking of Phendrana, I didn't even cue this up. I'm just playing a playlist right now. Speaking of Phendrana, the Sheegoths, man, you come back with the plasma beam and you just rip them, and that feels good. Speedball area isn't also a single time thing. Speedball. Yes, yeah, if that's what we're talking about. Where do you get that? Hang on, I'm racking my brain now. Because no, you're right. Because you get that before you go to the half pipe in Phendrana, because it tells you like half pipe location. Or is that in Phendrana? No. The half pipe location is back in Talon Overworld. Yeah. You only need to go to the submergent frigate once after the half pipe in Phendrana. That's true. Lava pool area in Chozo Ruins in the end game also. Yes, you're right. And that is where there's a super important piece of lore in that lava area. And I had been in there. It's funny. you can have access to that room super early on. Not super early on. I think it's like halfway through the game. But you can't go to the other side of that room. So I remember as a kid, like, I wouldn't even know like what piece of gadget I would get. And I'm like, oh, that lava room, can I go past it? And it's like not to the very, very, very end of the game. And yeah, Fendrana Canyon. Okay, yeah. Yep, that was one of the spots I was thinking of. Yeah, and talking with Avenger, talking about how the map design, the detail in the map design. What I love so much about how they're able to take a style, like let's go back to this. How look at the map design, right? Like every time there's a major room, there's an access room. Big room, access room. Room, access room. Room, access room. You don't think about it when you're playing it, but this is like how everything pretty much is set up, at least in Chozo Ruins. Room, access room, access room, room, access room. Like this is like how the whole game is set up. Let's look at Town Overworld. A little bit different, but big room, access room, big room, access room, big room, access room. This will be another good example. The Phazon Mines. This is a good example where they kind of break it. Sub level 2, which is with all like the giant mushrooms and the Metroids that are after you. But even still, look at that tiny access room, big room, tiny access room, big room, tiny access room. This is like the whole way of how this map is designed. Let's see, Pirate Frigate, and this is different because we're talking about like something that's supposed to feel isolated. Look at all these narrow corridors. That's the escape sequence, right? But even still, the Parasite Queen, access to that when you first come in. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the escapes. No, yeah, I was right. So that's supposed to feel isolated. Let's look at Fendrana. Let's look at Fendrana, a map that feels open. But look at how skinny that is. Look at how many access rooms that are there. This is how you talk about art design in a game creating what Avenger and I were talking about, that almost lucid dream feeling. You're inside a world that is much smaller than it feels. Much smaller than it feels. You go into Fendrana Shorelines, which is the room where you see the entrance to the temple, and when you come back, Meta Ridley goes over you. This is like, for me, this room like defines Fendrana Drifts for me. Like that is one of the biggest rooms. It is the biggest open room in all of Chozo Ruins, in all of Fendrana Drifts. Ice Ruins West, remember, it has all those buildings. It's like you're in a city. Ruin Courtyard, same kind of deal. Thardis' Hall, which is enclosed, and then all this down here is mostly space pirate stuff. But it feels, oh, here's your half pipe. Here's what we were talking about earlier. Yeah, the boost ball. You only come here once. But look at that map design and see how much of that is actually constricted. I would say, just eyeballing it, I would say at least 2/5 of all of the rooms are like skinny corridors, like really narrow, constrictive, like skinny little spaghetti noodle tunnels. But yet it feels so open. It feels so natural. Let's look at Town Overworld again, which is the one that kind of breaks a little bit of the mold. Here we are, big, huge, open, where we see the frigate, and here's the frigate, same kind of stuff. So, point being, when you look at a map like this, which again, this is like the playbook that when they did Jedi Fallen Order, this is the playbook that they turn to as far as map design, progression, how you're going to get gear. You're going to come back to that gear. You're going to be able to unlock a new room. But you go to a room like the crash site, and you have waterfalls, you have tree roots, you have an open area where you can look out. And shout out to Talon Overworld again. This feels huge by the time you get here, but it doesn't feel like, oh God, thank you. Like we're finally out of this like confined area. We're finally out of these constricting feels because of the kind of views that it sets up in. And I talk about it in stories, or not stories Retold, in part 2, in the design of the game. Is that they create it in a way to where, because of the progression, the repeating of areas, and the design, like our brain paints subconsciously what's out there. Did you discuss the map design, the flow in gameplay, how the areas are connected, how space is utilized, criticisms on how the light to dark world transition mechanic was implemented? Yes. Which is an interesting point to be made comparing Prime and Echoes, is that there's multiple themes in conflict here. And in Prime 1, you have good versus evil for sure, but you have like new and old, like decaying stuff and stuff that's alive, right? You have like the ruins are being taken over by creatures and by wildlife and by trees, and so if you've ever seen those shows, which are super cool, like if humans like stopped existing like 150 years, like cities would be taken over by trees and stuff. Like that's like the early stages of what's happening in Chozo Ruins, and that definitely cements a theme. Whereas in Echoes, yeah, that is like dark versus light. I love that. Well, I said that we were going to stream for an hour, and we're at an hour and a half here, and apparently I could talk about this game all the time. So let's wrap it up right there, you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was a lot of fun for me. I just want to read that. I think they had a lot of smaller areas because of limited space on disc. That's a really good point. Though it worked out really well, they seamlessly worked it into the story, like Prime 3 is bigger, probably disc size. Well, I will have to find that out very soon. No, that's a very good point, and I bring that up in part 2, that it really was a, they teach you in film not to go beyond your budget, and that basically puts you in bed with any kind of person who's going to donate to your film, and which is why Hollywood can get kind of problematic when it comes to when you create like a historical a piece on someone. When it comes to producing video games, obviously the producers, and this is obviously a hot button issue right now with production companies like EA, where the developers have a vision and the producers have a timeline, and the developers have the hands on the game and an idea of where they want to go, but the producers have shareholders and bottom line to think about. So I think you're spot on that the map design definitely was a mix of the art direction and the budget of not only what they were able to do, but then also the disc size. So how are the pirates accessing the quarantine cave? We know they got in there because of the computer panels in the quarantine monitor, but only access points to those in the Morphball tunnels. That's an interesting point. Maybe Project Titan, I believe it was. Project Titan was Thardis. No. Project Titan was the Omega Pirate. I can't remember the name of the project for Thardis, but that's a really good point. Continuity? I don't know. Maybe there was a chamber that was covered up by snow, or maybe that dome comes off. I don't know. You bring up a very good point. All the Prime 2 areas are interconnected and condensed into a circular area. Okay, yeah. It was very cool to be here and enjoy. Dude, so glad you're here. And I love seeing some of you guys' names again, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Helix. Helix was the Omega Pirate. You're right. So Titan was started as Helix. That's right. Well, that makes sense. Helix, DNA. You know, there's that. Yeah, I totally that totally makes sense. They rejected the morph ball, not working. That's right. They did try the morph ball, and it did not turn out so well. That's right. That is in a pirate lore, and that is super funny. That's super funny. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's call it. It's 8:30 where I am. Let's call that there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you again for 400 subscribers, and thank you for all of you guys being active in the comments. It makes it so much more fun for me and like way more fun for all of us. I love being able to do this with you guys as a community, and it's a lot of fun. We'll be doing more of these maybe once or twice a month, and I will definitely be updating everyone in the Discord on how things are going with the Echoes project. And so if you guys want to be up to date on stuff more often, hop into the Discord, and I'd love to hang out and chat with you guys. So thank you guys so much. This was, yeah, we'll send off with this. We'll send off with this. They got horribly broken and twisted when they engaged their prototypes. The poor space pirates. Well, we don't feel bad for them. We don't feel bad for them. Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun. I really appreciate it. I got to find the kill the stream button. And unfortunately, we're going to wrap it up right there. Thank you guys. I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.